Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Three graded stakes races on tap at Santa Anita on Saturday, including the Beholder Mile for fillies and mares. Let's take a look at the field for race number 8 at the Great Race Place on Saturday. Adare Manor, 5-2 on the morning line. She reeled off 5 consecutive victories in Southern California last year before reaching for the stars in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. She's not that kind of horse, but run her in grade 1s and grade 2s in Southern California, and she can make hay for Baffert.
Yeah, just real tough in these races. Or at least she was, last year, Dan. The Breeders' Cup didn't work out, but prior to that, she was just dominating the Philly Mare handicap set out here. We'll see if she can sort of pick up where she left off.
She has early speed. Can she sit? She might have to, according to Timeform US, because the number 6, Sweet Azteca, a very lightly raced 4-year-old filly, is going to be stretching out for the first time, and she has sprint speed.
I mean, it certainly seems like Sweet Azteca can deny Adair Manor the lead this time, Dan. The question is, does it matter?
If the pace is hot, keep an eye on the 4, Desert Dawn, the 5, Interstate Daydream. Note the LP flag over their chicklets. That indicates the co-fastest Timeform US late pace rating. Let's start things off with a progressive 4-year-old daughter of Curlin named Coffee in Bed, the number 1. She made her first start of the year in the La Cañada last time out. She was able to sit a pretty good trip, I thought, all in all, Mike, in behind the 3 leaders turning into the stretch, got to the outside, ran on for second behind Desert Dawn. It was another move forward for a filly, and I think there might be some more still in the tank.
I can see her taking one more step forward here too, Dan. I like that she matched the top dirt buyer in her prior dirt effort, the win and in the allowance race last October. Got back to the 90 last time. She was never beating Desert Dawn that day, but she ran fine in that race. I can see her improving.
This is a tougher spot, however, but this filly has performed well at Santa Anita. 2 wins and 2 seconds from 4 lifetime starts. Adare Manor won the Clement L. Hirsch at Del Mar, won in the Zenyatta in very easy fashion 2 starts back. And again, the Breeders' Cup Distaff was just a different animal from a pace standpoint, a different animal from a class standpoint. She's probably the horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the right way to look at her. I mean, this is actually a pretty good field. There are a couple of interesting horses shipping out here to take her on, so that could make her job a little bit tougher. She has to be ready off the layoff, obviously. I mean, based on what she was doing second half of last year, she is probably the horse to beat, but this isn't a cakewalk for her.
Green Up, the number 3, comes back off of an abbreviated 2023 season. She only raced twice that year. She did show some ability the prior season, earning a triple-digit Beyer speed figure in the Catherine Sophia. That race led to her being the favorite in the Grade 1 Cotillion against a pretty nice filly in Society. Here's her most recent start, however. She got back to the beam, cutting back to 7 furlongs in the Pumpkin Pie at Aqueduct. And as you can see, it's only a 4-horse field, but she carried some ground in a slow-paced race, and she's going to outgame a decent sprinter, the odds-on Frank's Rocket.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if nothing else, then you just sort of take this race for what it is. I mean, it's not the kind of race that, you're supposed to get super excited about, I don't think. But she does what she has to do here, and she winds up actually winning this race pretty easily. So it feels like just a real step in the right direction for her. I'll be honest, I have no idea how good she is, but I will not argue with Pletcher shipping her out here to run in this race.
Going into the La Cañada, Desert Dawn, the number 4, was on a long losing streak. She hadn't won since the Santa Anita Oaks of 2022, but she had run so well in so many of those subsequent starts. She deserved a win. She got it. Let's watch the La Cañada last time out. What I like about Desert Dawn in her recent starts, as she's matured, Mike, she's shown the ability to stay closer if the pace is moderate. She got the jump on Coffee in Bed, who's in the red silks on the outside. Desert Dawn's just the best.
Yeah, she got a good trip in this race, but she also took the race. The horse that's fading in the third there now is the odds-on favorite for Baffert, Midnight Memories. Desert Dawn took the race to her, put her away, and then easily held off Coffee in Bed there. That was a good performance. And listen, Adair Manor sort of had her number last year, but this filly ran well in all of those races, really made her work in the Hirsch and that grade 1 at Del Mar too. So, I mean, she's certainly not overmatched by that man.
And the pace is expected to be a lot faster this time. She can sit back and make one run. The 5th place horse from the race we just saw did come back to win at Golden Gate against optional claiming horses, earned a 91 Beyer speed figure. Up next is the number 5, Interstate Daydream. This horse sold for $1.4 million to Mike Rapoli at Keeneland November, is now with Todd Pletcher. Frankie Dettori takes the mount. She's seeking her 3rd straight victory. Here's her most recent start. The turn back the alarm going a mile and an eighth, where she just sat perched right off of the leader. Attacks turning into the stretch, and she's going to have to work. This leader is very game, but she always looks like the winner.
Yeah, she always had the advantage through the stretch here, and she's just always doing enough to win this race. That it's a fine performance. I'm not gonna knock Interstate Daydream. She seems pretty reliable. She always shows up. The distance is no issue for her. I'm not her biggest fan. We'll see what she does this year for Pletcher. Maybe she can have a put together a pretty good campaign, but I wouldn't bet her in this race.
Here's sort of the X factor in the race. The Sweet Six, Sweets Azteca, is going to be stretching out around 2 turns for the first time. She's won 2 of 3 starts, and she would just dominated a first-level allowance group in this race, going 6.5 furlongs in early February. The pace wasn't necessarily fast by Southern California standards. They almost went 46 seconds to the half, and this filly is going, gone.
She sure looks good winning this race, easy trip or not. Just sort of powering away from these horses through the stretch, and now they're going to stretch her right out in a Grade One race. Then I don't know. I mean, maybe she's this good, and this is sort of the right kind of field. I actually think it's a really tough spot for her, and I think the 3-to-1 morning line's a terrible price.
Although Kirsten did win the La Cañada back in 2023 around 2 turns, she's probably best known as a closing sprinter, and she ran third in the Santa Monica, going 7/8 of a mile. The race will show you right now her first start of 2024. And again, in this race, she's settled off of the pace. She's going to try to split horses right here, and she'll get up for third behind Three Witches, who seems like a progressive type now in the barn for Michael McCarthy. She really lacked a lot of pop in here, Mike. Maybe getting back to a 2-turn mile in a race with pace will help her out.
Yeah, maybe they move her around a little bit. They go long with her, then they cut her back, and she seems sort of equally effective no matter what. Dan, I just think overall she's a good horse. And a race like this is probably a little bit tough for her. Obviously, Adare Manor and Desert Dawn sort of had her number last year in those longer races. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Kirsten Botches. I could actually use her probably underneath in this race. I don't think I'd use her on top.
Turner Loose, the number 8, is a pretty versatile filly. She was a stakes winner at 2 on the turf. In her dirt debut, she won the Rachel Alexandra, going 2 turns at the fairgrounds. She's never really gotten back to that race. She's run well on turf. She's run well on dirt. They just haven't exactly found her whole card. She was third in the Bayacoa last time out at Los Alamitos. On her best day, she's capable of running a race that could put her in the mix, but I don't know if we're going to get that off a little bit of a layoff against this tough of a field.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see the real race that I would be interested in betting her off of here. I know that she won that Rachel Alexandra when they switched her to dirt, and then she actually ran fine in the Kentucky Oaks, but she was no real factor in there. I mean, which one of those dirt races that she's run so far makes you want to bet her against this field, even at a big price?
Window Shopping won the Summertime Oaks for 3-year-old fillies last year. Then, in an interesting move, they switched her back to turf for the Del Mar Oaks, and then they ran her in the Zenyatta, and she was well beaten. Her last 2 starts have not been good. This is a pretty confident placing by Richard Mandela off of the layoff. She's going to have to do more.
Yeah, I was thinking this sort of the same thing about it, that the Del Mar Oaks seemed like a weird race. And then you start thinking about it. There are no 3-year-old, there are no races for 3-year-old filly stakes horses in Southern California through the summer. So maybe Mandel just didn't have a choice. She was bad in the Zenyatta, although I guess that's the kind of race she's not supposed to win anyway, a 4-horse field. Her Summertime Oaks was good. Her Santa Anita Oaks was good. She had a terrible trip in that race and actually ran pretty well. I don't know. If I was looking for a long shot in this race, it'd probably be her.
20-1 on the morning line. Kazushi Kimura takes the mount. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 1 Beholder Mile. Adare Manor is certainly the horse to beat. I can see her tripping out, and if the speed stepping up in Class A finds the class too tough, and B finds the distance too long, there's a good chance Adare Manor spins into the stretch of the Beholder Mile with the lead.
Yeah, that's probably true. Dan, I didn't have any real good ideas here. I just put the 2 sort of logical horses, the 2 and the 4, 1-2 in this race. I couldn't quite talk myself into that window shopping on the outside at a big price. I'm just going to take the 2 logical horses.
I respect the shorter priced horses in this race. This was a race where I wanted to shop for a price, and Coffee and Bed should be double digits at post time. I think she's progressive enough that she can, with the right pace setup and trip, take a step forward. I'll give her one more chance over Adare Manor. 1, 2, 3, 5 for me, 2, 4, 7, 9 for Mike, and the Grade 1 Beholder on a really nice Saturday card at Santa Anita. Best of luck.